Going on, everybody? This is Jeff with Living in Arizona, and today we are going to make another comparison video based on popular demand. This is going to be between living in Florida or moving to Florida or moving to Arizona. So if you're considering doing either one of those two things, then you may want to enjoy this. Then you may enjoy this video. And if you're looking to move to Arizona in particular, this channel, Living in Arizona, is dedicated to those questions where I field all types of questions and answers and all this stuff. So this one comes in from Amy Hazlitt. She's a realtor, and she says, I did an Arizona versus Florida video. You should do one of those too. So if you also are looking for that information, you can click on her comment here on the Living in Hawaii or Living in Arizona video, and you can watch one on her channel, or you can watch this video too. And then also KP, he says, do Florida and Arizona. That's why I'm saying this is popular demand. So when we were analyzing the video between Texas and Arizona, we discovered that there was basically 4 states, right, that are kind of competing for Arizona's attention. It's Texas, Florida, California, and Colorado. We've done all of those videos except for this one here, Florida. This is different because it's on the East Coast. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the things to know about Florida and Arizona. So number one thing is cost of living. Everyone wants to know what's the deal with that, right? Well, like I just said, Florida is on the East Coast. That's a different lifestyle altogether than the West Coast. Florida is tropical or subtropical for the most part. Arizona is desert and arid with some alpine country. So, yeah, and Arizona doesn't have any ocean. Florida has tons of ocean. If you were to take the panhandle of Florida and the part where Miami dips down all the way up to Jacksonville, and you extended that out straight line, you've got a lot of oceanfront property in Florida. So if you like the ocean, then you're going to want to go to Florida because Arizona doesn't have it. But with the ocean comes problems. And Florida has hurricanes. So it seems like every single year, Florida is always under threat of a hurricane, whether it be the Panhandle or Miami or Jacksonville. You just keep seeing that coming up, and that's something to also keep in mind if you're moving to Florida. But when it comes to cost of living, you can see right here, Arizona or Phoenix and Orlando, just 2 of the premier cities. We could do Miami, we could do Jacksonville versus Phoenix, or Tucson versus Tampa or something like this. But it's comparable. The cost of living in both places is comparable. Okay, it's what I mean by that is it's really, you're not going to miss a beat unless you're trying to go into, say, Miami's coastal districts. If you're trying to live on the beach, you might pay a little bit more in Florida than you would if you're just living in, say, Gilbert or Chandler in Arizona, right? So for the average person who's not trying to live on the coast, it's comparable. Orlando's obviously not coastal. You can see they're just a little bit both. They're both a little bit above the national average. Food and groceries about the same. Housing, like nearly the same. Median home cost in Phoenix $229,000. Median home cost in Orlando $228,000. So if you're trying to buy a house in either one of those places, the only thing I would say is you better get hurricane insurance or flood insurance if you're moving to Orlando or anywhere in Florida, really, right? And here's another thing to keep in mind about that. You got utilities, pretty much the same. Arizona is going to have central cooling, air conditioning. Florida is going to have more of a swamp cooler, because there's high humidity. You've got to combat that high humidity with something other than the central cooling because it's so sticky and wet and damp in there. And I don't really like that about, see, there's a wet heat in Florida and there's mosquitoes. You don't have that wet heat and mosquitoes here in Phoenix like you do in Florida. And I think that's something that I really like about Arizona. Even though we're not close to the ocean, we don't have the problem that you have with being close to the ocean, like the mosquitoes and the wet weather and the high humidity. So one of the things that also comes up about Florida is, according to The Guardian, this seems a little bit like clickbait, but you can see rising seas. Florida is about to be wiped off the map. So Florida is flat. You know about the Everglades. And it's not mountainous, especially in the southern part from basically Tampa Bay south towards Miami all the way out into the Florida Keys. It really is low-lying ground, and you have the Everglades in between there. And they're saying that at some point, the ocean levels are going to rise and basically take out Florida. I don't know if it'll happen our generation. I mean, you can go on there and look at this. But let's not pretend like Arizona is just peachy keen and we don't have any problems, because we do have some problems. We have a drought. There's this idea that, so you have too much water coming into Florida. They just can't get enough of it. Arizona can't literally get enough of it, right? So we're desert out here. The more people that move out here, the less rain we get. Although this winter, like here it is March, I mean, we're about to go into another deep freeze again. So we've had a lot of rain. It's going to rain again in 2 days. We've got a winter storm coming, going to bring more snow in February. So this is about the third or fourth, I want to say about the third real cold spell where we go below freezing in Phoenix. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't know if Florida gets below freezing in some areas, but like Miami, I don't think it gets below freezing. And if it does, it's very rare. Here in Arizona, this is the third time we're going to go below zero or below 32 degrees, below freezing. First one happened in December. Second one happened in January. And third one's happening now in February. I will say, for the most part, January was a warm month. I found it to be a warm month, but we've kind of got backwards here in February where it's getting chilly again. But yeah, back to this drought subject. This is a big thing because Governor Doug Ducey was mandated by the, did I say Governor Doug Ducey? It's Doug Ducey, okay? He's a cool guy. He's not doing a bad job. But he said that, or he was mandated by the federal government to come up with a contingency plan in the event of an extreme drought in Arizona. Not because we're in that situation where we're getting close to running out of water, but they've got to have a plan B in place and a plan C probably, and that was mandated by the federal government saying that. So Arizona you're going to have this issue of water crisis looming, especially if droughts in the West continue. Although this winter, like I said, we've had signs that it was coming out of the drought. So let's move on to more positive news, right? So you've got the official Sunshine State the website for Florida, the Sunshine State. You can see beautiful mangroves in the swamps. Got gators in there, alligators. I don't think crocodiles are over there. And then you've got beautiful manatees. You've got Wikiwaki, which is a place where you can go paddleboard with manatees. Unfortunately, there's so many people going to do that it's threatening the well-being of the animals, the manatees, the sea cows, as they like to call them. But Arizona's got snow and mountains, and people right now are enjoying the heck out of the powder up in Flagstaff and Sunrise and Snowbowl and Mount Lemmon, where it is snowing, and we're going to get another bit of snow here. So you can see this is something that you would do for recreation out here. You get the four seasons kind of deal here in Arizona, whereas in Florida you don't get the 4 seasons, but you get tropical weather, which some people really like that, including myself. Although I don't like the humidity. You've also got the Grand Canyon. Lots of things to do here. You've got Kartchner Caverns, Petrified Forest, Flagstaff, Monument Valley, Sedona. And yeah, you can see this on Visit Arizona's website. We've got spring training just getting ready to come up. We've got 48 hours in Prescott. So a lot of cool stuff in Arizona. And then if we go to the Florida official website, you can see Get Warm at Cayo Costa. Yeah, you can see this beautiful water. Here's the Panhandle. You got Pensacola, Tallahassee, which is where Florida State University is, Jacksonville, which is the largest city in America in area, believe it or not. Then you got Daytona Beach, which is a popular destination. There's Orlando. I would say from Orlando south is flat. This is the area that would be coming under threat for going underwater. You got Tampa. And sometimes the hurricanes will wrap around into the Gulf of Mexico. Warm water in here, and that's what hurricanes like. So, sometimes it'll go north up the Atlantic where it's a little bit cooler water, especially as they get up towards Jacksonville and South Carolina. But if they come up in here, that's how the one that pounded Panama City and Pensacola here recently, and also the one Hurricane Katrina, if you guys remember that, through New Orleans. And then there was a couple in Texas, right? But it'll wrap around here, and sometimes it even put Tampa, the tailwinds over here in Fort Myers and Tampa, and then up in here and right here really on the Panhandle is where they get it the most. The Keys, I mean, they're going underwater. If anything's going underwater, it's the Florida Keys. these islands right here. But you can see Florida is a beautiful state. There's no doubt about it. I mean, look at, they've got Busch Gardens in Tampa, Legoland in Florida, SeaWorld, Universal, Walt Disney World, Epcot, all that stuff. Arizona doesn't have a Disney. They don't have a Legoland. They don't have a SeaWorld. We have spin-off generic brands of all that. So, but I did hear recently that Waterworld, I think up in North Phoenix, turned into Hurricane Harbor, which is, I believe, a Six Flags brand. And then also, for those of you who've been following this channel, you know that in Arizona, they are talking about building a Six Flags or a Disneyland style resort out in Casa Grande, which we're going to talk about that more in detail. I'm just waiting on more news to come out because they haven't really said anything about that development since 2017 when they said it was going through. It's called Dreamport Village. Dreamport Village, but it's not even on a river, it's not even on an ocean, but they're going to call it Dreamport. Okay. But that's cool. It's either way, it's going to be an indoor thing, which is also a good modern setup. Now, one thing to also keep in mind, there's a lot more people in Florida than there are in Arizona. We're talking 21 million people live in Florida. Okay, average median household income in Florida is $51,000. And if we go to the Arizona Wikipedia and see what the data on that looks like, right? I think there's only about 7 million people that live in Phoenix or in Arizona. Although Phoenix is the largest metro area. So Phoenix is larger than any city in, bigger than Miami, bigger than Orlando, bigger than Tampa, if you just compare it. But because there's more big cities in Florida, they have more population. Yeah, so there's 7.1 million. There's like 1/3 the amount of people. So the population density in Arizona it's a lot less densely populated across the entire state. But if you go into like Phoenix, driving in Phoenix, you can get traffic jams. I think you also get those in Miami and Tampa and whatnot. But like I said, I mean, the big difference is the ocean at the end of the day. Another thing that I would point out in looking at this is, okay, so the median household income, you do make a little bit more in Arizona. People in Arizona make $52,000, people in Florida $51,000. Not a big difference, but and it is comparable. So everything is comparable in terms of your cost of living. But factor in hurricane insurance, flood insurance in Florida. Arizona, you're not going to have natural disaster threats, but you're not going to have the ocean. So all the good things you get with the ocean also comes the bad. The floods, the hurricanes, maybe even tsunami, if that were to be something that would come up. I don't know about that yet in Florida. But overall, yeah, if you're going to go, as far as travel, people in the West Coast, Arizona in particular, they go to Mexico or California. People in Florida, they go to the Caribbean. So that's their backyard, right? That's where they go to get their retreat. They go to Punta Cana in Dominican Republic. They go to Anguilla. They go to Puerto Rico, Bahamas, Jamaica, St. Kitts, St. Bart's, U.S. Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands. All those islands, yeah. In Arizona, we go to Cabo San Lucas. We go to Puerto Penasco. We go to Cancun, Playa del Carmen, maybe even Belize. So you get the idea. It really is. It's hard to compare them because they're not alike as far as the environment, but cost of living and all that, they're very similar. So anyways, if you guys have any other requests for videos, please do let me know in the comments below. I am fielding questions. I got one asking about tips for people moving long distance to Arizona. I have some pretty good tips that I think can help you guys out, so stay tuned for that video. And thank you to everyone who's been subscribing to this channel, living in Arizona, and liking these videos, and we'll see you guys next time.